I'm Rusty Pete.
Every day, AFA offers biblical insight on issues that others aren't willing to touch in the hopes that you'll become a world changer. That's why we're offering an in-depth worldview training course called Activate. 13 different professors teaching 18 sessions, all available online, including a printed workbook to help you apply what you've learned and 1-year access to AFA streaming content to give you even more resources. Find out more about Activate and sign up today at activate.afa.net.
Jenna Ellis in the morning on American Family Radio.
I love talking about the things of God because of truth and the biblical worldview.
The U.S. Constitution obligates our government to preserve and protect the rights that our founders recognize come from God, our Creator, not our government. I believe that Scripture in the Bible is very clear that God is the one that raised up each of you, and God has allowed us to be brought here to this specific moment in time.
This is Jenna Ellis in the morning.
Well, Jenna is taking a very well-deserved vacation, and this is E.W. Jackson. I'm in for her this entire week, and glad to be with you as always. It's an honor to sit behind this desk, to sit in this seat and behind this desk in her behalf, and to be here again on American Family Radio, in my view, the premier radio network in America, bringing you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Well, look, folks, this is a very special week. We've been highlighting Hannah's Heart, which is really the Bibles for Babies campaign that we're doing this year, the second time we're doing it. Hannah's Heart's a radio program that helps Christian couples who are struggling with infertility and miscarriage. Hosted by Ann Cockrell and Kendra White. I'm hoping to have one or both of them on the program sometime this week, so stand by for that. So Bibles for Babies is a week-long initiative to raise funds for those mothers who choose life for their babies. And folks, as a pastor, I have dealt with women who wanted to have children and miscarried, or wanted to have children and were told by doctors that they couldn't. This is a very, very serious matter, of course, for women who want to have children and for families that want to have children. And Hannah's Heart is really speaking to this. The Bible has several instances where women who were considered to be incapable of having children were miraculously blessed by God to be able to do so. Well, today we've got technologies that actually help that process along. Praise God for His power and His miraculous ability. But we also thank God for the ability for families to adjust around some of the physiological and biological problems that may sometimes get in the way in this fallen world that we live in. No fault of the couple, of course, but it's the nature of this sin-sick world that things don't function perfectly. Almost nothing does. So we need to be praying for these women who are believing God for His perfect will for them, which is to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. By the way, this initiative is in honor of John Micah Cockrell, Ann's precious baby, who sadly left the world early, and for all those mothers who have lost a child in miscarriage. She wants to encourage those struggling couples who have infertility or have suffered a loss of a child, to basically turn that grief into positive energy to serve those mothers who have experienced something similar or going through similar circumstances. So your gift of any amount is very much appreciated. In fact, $10 will buy a new Bible for a precious new baby. And the Bibles are the New Beginners Bibles for children. Park Gate Pregnancy Center in Tupelo, Mississippi is purchasing the Bibles from donations so that we can keep them at the clinic. When a woman has a positive pregnancy test, she'll receive one of these Bibles as her first baby gift. Couldn't have a better gift than that. So, folks, Hannah's Heart is really the heart of God. Jesus said when the disciples tried to stop children from coming to Him, He said, suffer little children, permit the little children, allow the little children to come to me and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. And so You want to help somebody who is going through the grief. And like I said, believe me, I have been with parents who struggle with this. And folks, it is not easy. It is not easy. But if you want to help someone in that situation, call 877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. Or give online at afr.net/Bibles for Babies. That's afr.net/Bibles for Babies. And praise God, looking forward to talking to one or both of them before the week is out. Well, big news today. Just came through, I think, late last night. Cracker Barrel has decided that they're not going to discontinue their old logo. They're bringing it back. Somehow they heard the voices of the American people. I think they more likely heard the $100 million loss in stock value. You know, money really does talk. We may not always like what it's got to say, but it really does talk. And so they have now reversed and gone back to the old Cracker Barrel logo. And, folks, again, I just couldn't even understand what they thought they were trying to do. This stuff, we learn over and over and over again, as the saying goes now, go woke, go broke. And they keep doing it. You just wonder at what point do they learn the lesson. But this is again confirmation that this is not logical, this is not rational, this is not factual, this is cult-like thinking, which is we have an irrational view of the world, we have an irrational response to the things around us, and we're going to do what we want to do because we believe we are answering to ultimately a higher reality than the rest of you can perceive. And even though we suffer loss, we only suffer loss because people are too stupid to have the level of enlightenment that we have. I mean, but that's the mindset. I said, so you tell a cult member, look, the things you believe are crazy. They're wrong. And they look you in the eye and say, well, that's because you are unenlightened and you haven't had the wonderful experience I've had. So it's not me that's got the problem. It's you. You don't see all those pink elephants flying around, but I see them. And they're here. Watch out. One of them might step on your head. I mean, you're thinking this person is bat crazy. But they're thinking, oh, this poor, unenlightened person, I wish I could get them to join the cult. And that's, to me, that's exactly what this is like because, you lose money, you lose public support, and yet somehow they keep trying to figure out ways to do this, I guess assuming somehow that that the American people will one day become enlightened enough to fully understand the impact of what they're doing. I mean, because and this is so. Look, this woman, their CEO, is trying to cater to she's got a history of this, trying to cater to the homosexual and sexual deviant community. The drag queens, the so-called LGBTQ, which I call SPCG, sexual perversion, child grooming movement. And all this stuff, and then the racial stuff. I told you she's got the company broken up into, you got your black group, you got your Hispanic group, you got your LGBT group. How about just Americans? How about just employees? Oh no, that's much too unsophisticated. I mean, you're setting up yourself for failure anyway by dividing your company up and basically tribalizing the company. I said this is what they want to do to America. They want to tribalize us. And folks, the world operated by tribalism up until really, you could say, about the last 500 years or so. I mean, you could argue that some of the European nations began to arise, like Great Britain, about 1,000 years ago. The Roman Empire existed, but the Roman Empire really wasn't a nation state. It was basically a conquest, an empire of conquest. So it's not like the Roman Empire could claim some sort of hegemony or unity among its people because they all felt they had a common destiny as Romans. It was more conquering people, subjugating them, enslaving them, and basically forcing them to live under your rule. But the rise of the nation state sort of ended tribalism by saying, look, we've got to see ourselves as one nation, and we've got to come together as one people in order to advance a common destiny. Well, that's relatively new in human history. But here we've got these leftists who want to drag us back and say, no, we don't like that. We want more tribalism. We want more division. We want more people competing and attacking and resenting each other. Well, again, Jesus said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. A kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And I'm not going to allow a country to be brought to desolation. So one more Cracker Barrel at least has learned a lesson here. We'll see how deep, how profound the lesson is. See if they dismantle all this DEI craziness that they've been using to run the company in the first place. I mean, folks, I find it almost unbelievable, but I know it's true, but almost unbelievable that any entity, a company, the military, would say to a group of people, you have to diminish your whiteness. I scratch my head if I didn't have this sense of insight that this is cult-like thinking, I would just think I have no basis for understanding that at all. What does that even mean? Every individual is different. Every individual has a unique background. You're sure you share some commonalities, maybe with people of the same ancestral roots. But I was just reading about one of my favorite subjects, of course, reading history, and one of my favorite things to do, I should say, is reading history. And I was reading about, divisions in Italy. So, for example, the Sicilians and the Calabrese, both Southern Italians, and therefore at odds with the Northern Italians who didn't like the Southern Italians. Southern Italians, were considered to be low-class people, but the Sicilians and the Calabrese, both Southern Italians, they didn't get along either. You would think they would say, well, we need to be united against these Northern Italians. I mean, I guess to some extent they were forced to be from time to time, but they were in competition and in conflict with one another, and they had slurs against each other. They said things that they said about each other that were simply stereotypes that they developed in order to basically put themselves above the other. And these are the Southern Italians who all had a problem with the Northern Italians who considered themselves to be the upper class, the nobles, the ones who look down their noses at the Southern Italians. But it's the human condition, folks. It has nothing to do with race. It's just the human condition. Instead of telling people you need to diminish your whiteness, we need to tell people you need to increase your humanity. All of us. Love your neighbor. Care about other people. I mean, wow. How about this as a revolutionary idea? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Man, who said that? Oh, that's right. That was Jesus. But oh, no. That is much too simplistic. We all know that certain people are inherently evil and racist and wicked and oppressors, and we've got to make sure we keep those people in their place. Does that sound familiar? Keep them in their place. It's nothing but the same thing recycled and repackaged, but it's the same wicked sentiment of division. And again, it expresses itself in all kinds of iterations. Did you all know that the Russian serf really was in many ways as bad or worse off than the American slave? Well, we know very little about Russian serfdom. In fact, did you realize in 1861, the Tsar issued a proclamation ending serfdom. But we don't talk much about that because that wasn't racial. And we wouldn't want anybody to think that slavery was really a matter of the human condition, not a matter of race. This is E.W. Jackson in for Jenna Ellis. You're listening to American Family Radio. We'll be back in just a moment.
Do you believe in the absolute inerrancy of God's holy word? Do you believe in the power of the Holy Spirit to radically change lives and empower us to live like Christ? At Wesley Biblical Seminary, we believe God is raising up a movement of people across our nation and across the world who hold fast to the authority of the Bible and the hope of holiness. We are working today to equip tomorrow's pastors and Christian leaders through biblical and theological education in practical ministry that's accredited, affordable, online, and highly personal. Our programs include undergraduate, master's, and doctoral degrees, certificate programs, and even training for lay people. So whatever your next step is in being equipped for ministry, we're here for you. And if you believe these are the kinds of pastors we need leading our churches in the future, we invite you to learn more about partnering with us through giving. Learn more about Wesley Biblical Seminary by visiting us at wbs.edu today.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-788-1813.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Stand by for news and commentary next. A senior at Grand Island High School in New York wanted to decorate her parking spot with a Bible reference and a cross. The decoration is part of a long-standing tradition for teens. The school district encourages seniors to express themselves, but they can't express themselves with Bible verses. Sabrina Steffens was told by school leaders her design had been rejected because she mentioned phrases like God is love. She also included John 3:16 and a cross. The school explained the parking spot was on school property and therefore she could not mention anything about her Christian faith. They also told her that if they approved a cross, they would also have to approve a satanic symbol. Well, First Liberty Institute's representing Sabrina, they say public schools must be neutral when it comes to religion, and that means the school cannot infringe upon a student's faith, and it's unconstitutional to stifle religious messages. I'm Todd Starnes.
Welcome back to Jenna Ellis in the Morning on American Family Radio.
So this is Bishop E.W. Jackson in for Jenna Ellis. Now this disconnect from reality, folks, is something we've talked about a lot. See, and I really believe it's because when you disconnect from God, you disconnect from the reality from the foundation of reality. God is ultimate reality. All things come from Him. When you disconnect from Him, you ultimately disconnect from reality. And it's just a matter of how that plays itself out and what it looks like. But you disconnect from moral reality, you disconnect from spiritual reality, and you ultimately, in my view, will disconnect from physical reality. I mean, think about this. The Democrat Party, as I like to affectionately refer to it, is telling people all over the country in these cities that are racked with crime, nothing to see here. Everything's fine. We don't need President Trump's help. We're doing great. Oh, my goodness. Why isn't everybody celebrating it? Crime is going down. Did you see? Folks, I was shocked. I'll sometimes look at a late night news program to see if anything's broken during the day or just before I get ready to go to sleep. And Kevin Corker was on. You probably saw the president's press conference. I mean, his cabinet meeting press conference, because he's got the press there. And this reporter from the Epoch Times talked about having been robbed and pistol whipped on a Saturday morning. Said, guy stuck a gun in her face, told him, give me all of your stuff. And of course, this woman, folks, sometimes the size of people can be deceptive when you're watching people on television, but it was clear this is a little petite woman. She probably weighed 95 pounds soaking wet. And some guy comes, sticks a gun in her face and tells her, give me all your stuff. And this little woman, I guess she's got some fire in the belly, but she said, no. Somebody sticks a gun in your face and demands your stuff, give up the stuff, right? I mean, it's only stuff. You can replace stuff. But you could be dealing with a nutcase who is looking for an excuse to kill you. She said no. He slapped her. I mean, apparently banged her up good. Because to me, it looked like you could see a little bit of that her face had not quite gone back to its normal shape. And this was, I think this was a couple of years ago. I could be wrong about that. But when she turned to show which side he hit her on, it looked to me like there was a little bit of distortion in the way her face was shaped. But I smacked her with the pistol. You know, and President Trump calls them animals, and he's right. What kind of man takes a pistol, hits a woman, period, but takes a pistol and smacks a little 95-pound woman upside the head? I mean, yeah, folks, I have no patience with that stuff. I really don't. And I know that God is merciful, and I'm not God, because I won't even tell you what, in my view, needs to happen to a person like that because it ain't pretty. I mean, because it's beneath human dignity to do stuff like that. I mean, to be robbing and hurting people is just, I mean, it's despicable. You know, my daddy used to say to me, and you all know I was raised in foster care, so my father got me out of foster care. He kind of read me the riot act about how I was supposed to behave, because I was doing some pretty bad stuff before he took custody of me at 10 years old. And my father used to say to me, he said, son, if you get into trouble because someone attacks you or tries to hurt you and you're defending yourself, he said, and you hurt somebody or you kill somebody, he said, I will be there. I will be there every step of the way. He said, but if I find out that you are out there robbing people and hurting people and knocking people in the head, he said, and you get caught and you get locked up, don't call me, because I'm not coming. He said, I'm not coming. He said, I don't live that way. I don't expect you to live that way. And if you choose to live that way, don't call me. He said, if you want to be around me, you stay out here free by keeping your nose out of trouble and not going around doing things that you know are going to land you in jail. I mean, my father put the fear of God in me, because I thought, man, if I do anything like that, my father's not even going to come to my rescue. So I really better keep my nose clean. But these kids, they don't have any fathers out there. They got these gangbangers out there telling them, yeah, this is a great thing to do. I told you all when this little MJ in Chicago was killed, we got a bunch of children on our America's Forgotten Children website. You can check it out, americasforgottenchildren.com, where we list all the children across the country who have been murdered since the Defund the Police movement began. And said when they've caught kids who have killed young children and they asked them, said, well, did you know you shot a 3-year-old? Did you know you shot a 4-year-old? Did you know you shot a 1-year-old? He said their answer is always the same. collateral damage. It happens. Just as hard and cold. Where did they learn that from? They didn't learn that in the home from a decent father. They learned that on the streets from a gangbanger who wanted to turn them into the same kind of monster that he is. So, at any rate, but you got the Democrats running around. There's nothing wrong. Here's no crime. And Kevin Corker said he got robbed coming home from work at Fox one night. He got robbed in Washington, D.C. Said a guy stuck a gun in his face and told him, when he said the guy, when he was about to get out of the car, and the guy grabbed the door of the car, he said when he saw the guy grab the door of the car, he immediately tried to slam the door shut, figuring out if I lock the door, maybe I can get away from him. He said, but the guy took a pistol and tapped it on the window and said, give it up, and pointed at him, said, give it up. And he realized he was saying, well, I'll kill you. He gave the guy's keys, and there was another guy with him that he didn't really see. He said, so the guy who actually stuck the gun in his face got locked up, but the guy who was with him, they never found him. His companion didn't rat him out, and he was never apprehended. So that means he's probably still walking the streets, and probably one of these people out there. See, this is what these people tell you. Oh, the statistics are showing that we are. Oh, please, cashless bail and slaps on the wrist and shock probation, all this nonsense. And they're going to lecture us about how safe it is and how Donald Trump is an authoritarian. He's a dictator. He's trying to take over the cities. No, he's trying to keep the law-abiding citizen, the innocent citizen, the innocent men, women, and children who want to go about their business, trying to keep them safe. And this is his way of saying, I am not going to accept crime running rampant in these cities across the country and hurting our people. And the Democrats are acting like, like he's some kind of monster for doing that. Because I guess if you really have your head on straight, what you really want is bloodthirsty criminals running the streets. Because after all, maybe the American people deserve it, right? Maybe we little Nazis deserve it. We little flag waving people deserve to be terrorized by criminals. Folks, look, that's what Ward Churchill said, remember? The guy from that university, I think he was out in Oklahoma, when 911 hit, he said, yeah, the 3,000 who died deserved it. Called them little Nazis. Didn't know them, but, they're Americans. Most of them were Americans. And that's enough to condemn you. I mean, I can't help but believe, we're deplorables, we're garbage, we're people who cling to our guns and our Bibles and antipathy toward those who are not like us. All this nonsense. These people they don't like us. They don't like us. That's why they're bringing in all these illegal aliens, because they're trying to remake America. Trying to turn it into a little Marxist paradise with a bunch of automatons that they can direct. Because after all, remember, you couldn't speak English and you were killing people on the road, but who defended you? Yeah. You raped several children, but when they tried to put you in jail, we were the ones who stood up for you. Well, what a resume. What a resume for a political party. The defender of the illegal aliens, the defender of MS-13 gang members, the defender of domestic abusers, the defender of murderers, the defender of child rapists. We want to make sure that they get due process. Well, I want everybody to get due process, but I tell you what, you're not going to find me running around the public square screaming and yelling that Abrego Garcia is not getting a fair shake because we're deporting him out of our country when he doesn't belong here in the first place. I mean, but folks, that's where they are. Since President Trump took action in Washington, D.C., over 1,094 arrests, 8 gang members arrested, 2 missing children rescued, 115 firearms, illegal firearms taken off the streets. And by the way, remember, Washington, D.C. is a place I can't take a firearm into Washington, D.C. my personal protection can't take a firearm into D.C. And they're professionals. They are licensed. They are certified. They can go pretty much almost anywhere in the country. Of course, can't take a firearm into Illinois either. But they seized 115 firearms in a matter of a few days from people who should not have them, but a law-abiding citizen can't have them. And they're up in arms about this when they're talking, it's the guns. We got to get guns. We got to get guns off the streets. We got to get guns off. You would think they would be celebrating, right? Because they're always telling us about there are too many guns in America. Guns are the problem. You would think they would be saying, well, I'll tell you one thing. I may not like some of the stuff, but I'm sure glad President Trump is getting guns off the streets. Because they don't want the guns of criminals. They want your guns and mine. That's what they really want. They're not interested in removing guns from the hands of criminals. They're interested in taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. Because it's part of the obsession with control. If you're capable of defending yourself against crime and or tyranny, that makes you a somewhat independent human being, autonomous human being, and they don't want that. They don't want independent, autonomous human beings. They want sycophants. They want slaves, not to put too fine a point on it, because that's all communism and socialism is. It's just a more sophisticated slave system. That's all it is, where you don't legally own a person, but you really do, because you get to control what they say, what they think, what they do, where they go, where they work, how much money they get, all of that. So they're really, in effect, your slave. No, thank you. As Patrick Henry said, as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Now, we've got this guy who killed 3 people driving a truck that he had no business driving, authorized by California. You've got Washington and Washington State and New Mexico, who have refused to comply with Trump's order that the Transportation Department's order, any person driving one of these vehicles has got to know English, has got to be able to speak, read, write, speak English. Oh, no, New Mexico and Washington State said, we're not doing that. We want people driving dangerous vehicles, large vehicles that are capable of wreaking havoc and causing all kinds of problems. We want people on the road who can't speak English. Now, again, folks, again, there's no rational explanation for that attitude. And again, I haven't heard a single expression of sympathy or empathy for the 3 people that guy killed. Not coming out of the Democrats' mouths. I haven't heard a single. In fact, you all know that the mainstream, lamestream, leftist, Marxist, communist media hasn't even covered the story. They're too busy talking about how terrible the treatment of Abrego Garcia is. And it's so terrible that they're going to deport him. Oh, what a wonderful Maryland man. I mean, he's playing these people. I mean, really. He's just playing them. And, of course, they're only too happy to be played. He's an MS-13. You know the interesting thing? With all the talk he gave, God was with us and God will blah, 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 all that nonsense. You would think that one of the first things out of his mouth would say, I know it has been said that I'm an MS-13 gang member, but let me say to everybody, I am not and never have been an MS-13 gang member. That is a lie. I'm not. Well, he could be lying to say that, but you would think he would at least say that, right? And then you might think, well, could they be mistaken? I mean, that's a pretty vehement denial. And if you are an MS-13 gang member and you deny that you're an MS-13 gang member, the MS-13, your gang members might want to kill you over it. But if you're really not an MS-13 gang member, you're not at any risk because you're simply telling the truth. Then they know that you're not a member of their gang. But he's never said that. I wonder why. Because he is an MS-13 gang member. This is Bishop E.W. Jackson here on American Family Radio in Jenna Ellis. Back in a moment.
The term providence means God's superintending care over his creation.
America's Providential History with Stephen McDowell.
God is at work performing his will in history. And so through this podcast, we're going to be taking a look at the providence of God in the history, and in particular in the history of America.
America's Providential History. Available now on the podcast page at afr.net. It's Bibles for Babies Week on AFR. Here's Ann Cockrell, co-host of Hannah's Heart.
My son, John Micah, went to be with Jesus just 27 minutes after his birth. I never want his memory to die. Even in our grief, we can bless others, and that's why we do Bibles for Babies.
A gift of $10 provides a new beginner's Bible for an expectant mother and her baby. Call 877-616-2396 to donate.
How about this? Some actual good news on the healthcare front, even as costs just keep skyrocketing. So if you're 65 or older, MediShare now offers MediShare 65 Plus. Call them. You can talk to them about this. A lot of people are taking advantage of this now because even if you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are out-of-pocket things, deductibles and copays that just keep going up. And the whole point is to help you by giving you a low, consistent monthly payment that fills in the gaps. In fact, I can tell you how much MediShare 65 Plus is. For example, it's $99 a month up to age 75. It keeps costs under control. That helps with peace of mind. MediShare is trusted too. It's been around for 30 years, and it's a community of people who help each other. Business owners, retirees, pastors, teachers. People love being part of it. Here's the number you can call now. They are easy to talk to. Call 833-45-BIBLE. That's 833-45-BIBLE. 833-45-BIBLE.
After taking the morning after pill, this mom immediately felt sick and nauseous as she tried to end her pregnancy. While searching for medical care, she found a preborn network clinic where she hoped to rule out that she was pregnant.
I had an ultrasound done right then and there. After hearing the baby's heartbeat, I instantly thanked God and said, "May your will be done, Lord." I'm 7 months pregnant now. I thank God every day for my little miracle.
Preborn is the largest provider of free ultrasounds in the country, introducing moms to the life growing inside of them and sharing the gospel in action. When a mother meets her baby on ultrasound and hears their heartbeat, she'll choose life 80% of the time. To learn more, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or visit preborn.com/AFR. That's preborn.com/AFR. All gifts are tax deductible. Your love can save a life.
Welcome back to Jenna Ellis in the Morning on American Family Radio.
And we're back, folks. The number is 888-589-8840. I want to start taking your calls, 888-589-8840. I'm going to be speaking at Preborn, as a matter of fact, in Fort Lauderdale on September the 19th. I'll be speaking for them. My organization staying true to America's national destiny, is dedicated to life. We're dedicated to restoring America's Judeo-Christian values and principles, and life is the first, because without life, nothing else matters, right? Restoring marriage and family as God designed it, deracializing America, something I talk about a lot, because these race-obsessed leftists are really, again, trying to tribalize us supporting law enforcement. I mean, these people are going out laying their lives on the line every single day for us to keep us safe. And you got people running around vilifying them and calling them a bunch of racists and anything else they can think of. Well, we stand with law enforcement at stand. And then providing educational choice for parents and children so they can get out of these indoctrination camps referred to as public schools, because that's not what they are anymore. They really are communist indoctrination camps, teaching children to hate their own country. It's really a sad, sad thing. But if you want to help us, folks, during Project 76 Stand-a-thon, or any time for that matter, go to standamerica.us. That's standamerica.us. And by the way, be sure to find out more about our big Stand-a-thon Marathon Day, Constitution Day, September 17th. And I'll tell you, only 15% of Americans even know that September 17th is the day the Constitution was passed. And it is arguably, I think undoubtedly, the second most important day in American history, because we've been governed under that Constitution since, of course, it wasn't ratified for 2 more years, but it was passed September 17th, 1789. But we've been governed by that Constitution since then. So it is something worth celebrating and something worth honoring and respecting. And frankly, if everybody, including if government, including these courts, these judges, would actually govern themselves by the Constitution instead of making it say whatever they want it to say in order to do their little social engineering thing, our country wouldn't be having the problems we're having right now. Because these weird interpretations gave us same-sex marriage. They gave us this notion of gender identity, whatever that means. And frankly, they gave us Roe v. Wade. There's no constitutional right to kill an unborn baby. Are you kidding me? But the Supreme Court found one somehow. Yeah, because that's what they wanted. And they thought that's what society should do. And so they just created it out of whole cloth. And finally, thank God, we had some of them with enough wisdom to overturn that abomination. 888-589-8840 is the number. And let's come right to your calls. Let's go to Demetrius in Texas. Demetrius, welcome.
How you doing, Bishop?
I am blessed. How are you?
I'm okay. First, I want to say thank you for your service. I know you're a Marine, and I love our veterans. Second, just want to say I agree 100% of what you're saying. I am a felon. I did 25 years in federal prison. And, I say this a lot when I'm giving testimony. I deserved everything I got. I committed the crime, and I needed to be incarcerated and whatnot. Not that I might be saved. That's a whole nother issue. But I robbed a bank. And the fear that was put in people's lives and whatnot, it's unreal. I can't believe I did that, but I own that. And I have to live with that for the rest of my life. But I am pro-blue. We need our officers out there. I agree that Trump should be doing what he's doing. As a matter of fact, I'm out extra early a little bit because Trump signed a bill, the Second Chance Act. It was only 6 months, but to somebody who's done a lot of times 6 months and 6 months early.
Praise God.
And I just between you, Abraham Hamilton III, there's a lot of good brothers in there that do listen to these shows. And they understand that they're there because they committed crimes, and they're not there for preaching the gospel. Let's say that. But anyway, I really wish we're trying to be a part of the solution out here, no more part of the problems. I deal with the youth. I also deal with the gang members, young kids, and just pouring into them. And I try to point them in you guys' direction as well. I just would love to hear your thoughts on everything I just said. That's all.
Well, Demetrius, first of all, I'm honored that you called. Thank you so much. And God bless you, brother. You are proof positive that God is able to transform our lives and that we can. The circumstances that we find ourselves in are of our own making almost 100% of the time. Now, there are obviously times when other people do things to us and create problems for us. I know that. But, I think you may have heard me say, I don't know whether you were listening at the time, but I say when I was campaigning, running for office one time, and I had a meeting with some folks in Richmond, and the room was filled with predominantly black people. and they were talking about prison reform. And there was one guy who, like you, had done a lot of time in prison. He said, this is a convicted felon who's now out saying, I keep hearing everybody saying, all these people are in prison and they don't belong there. He said, but everybody I met belonged there, including me. You can't be changed, and you can't change if you're not willing, first of all, to take responsibility for your own actions. So I commend you, brother, for having done that, and may the Lord bless you. And I thank you for speaking into the lives of young people, because they really do need a wake-up call. Because when I was 10 years old, I thought that the greatest thing you could do is commit a crime, go to the penitentiary, become tough, and then come out and have everybody respect you. Now, that's how perverse my thinking was at the age of 10 years old before I came out of foster care. So, man, they need a wake-up call. So thank you, Demetrius. Let's go to Andy in Texas. Andy, welcome.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you?
I am blessed, my friend. How are you?
I'm blessed and forgiven. I'd say is what you're talking about, the reporter being beaten with a pistol from in D.C. Not only let me get my tongue untied here, about not being able to carry a gun with you in D.C. Well, that just proves my point that if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns.
Yep. Andy, thank you for the call. You're absolutely right, because they don't care what the law says. And when I've been up that way, for example, in Virginia, it's an open carry state, a constitutional carry state, and I do carry. And when we go up that way, if we have to go into D.C., and we have to take extraordinary precautions, because if we even got caught on the road with a gun in the car, even if it was not on our person, we would be arrested. But the criminals, clearly, if they've been able to pick up 115 guns that quick, the criminals clearly don't have any problem with carrying a weapon. And, I thought about this with this woman. If she had a gun in her pocketbook and reached in her pocketbook to get a wallet, she could have shot him before he even knew what was happening. So, this idea, no, if you have a gun, that's only going to make things worse. It's only going to escalate things. Give me a break. That's the only a liberal could think, only a leftist could think that way. Let's go to Haywood in Mississippi. Haywood, welcome.
Well, it's good to hear you back, Brother Bishop. I've been missing you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, having been an over-road truck driver for 30-plus years, I saw the problem coming probably in the late 1990s. And I would voice my opinion to certain people, and they would say, oh, they're just here trying to get a job, blah, blah, blah. I'd say, well, it's all good and fine until they kill somebody. And it is a shame it took so many deaths. Finally, we get a president that sees the problem and takes care of the problem. And, again, I want to thank you for your service. One veteran to another, Donald Trump is helping the veterans. I'll give him that. And God bless you and your ministry and preborn. I'm also pro-life, and I surely commend you for your stance on being pro-life.
All right. Thank you, Haywood, and thank you for your service too, brother. Yeah, isn't it interesting, folks, that the lamestream media has not even covered the deaths of these three people at the hands of this illegal alien driving this truck in Florida? They have not. ABC, NBC, CBS, they have not even covered the story. They're too busy talking about how Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man, I tell you, it's like I said, these people are so disconnected from reality that it is difficult to fathom. All right, we've got a couple open lines. 888-589-8840 is the number, and a little bit of time to take some additional calls. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Tom, also in Texas. Tom, welcome.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you? Welcome home.
Thank you.
I did meet you very briefly there at First Baptist in Texarkana a couple years ago, and gave you a copy of my book, Between the Lines, photographs from the Vietnam Memorial in Washington.
Yes, thank you.
And I just returned from the Vietnam Helicopter Pilot Association reunion in St. Louis, And while we are a shrinking group, we're all in our late 70s and 80s. It's still such a joy to see these men and to hear their life stories after Vietnam, all the successes they've had, because, you know, there was a big rumor back years ago that Vietnam veterans were, damaged goods and weren't worth even looking at. So my salute to all the Vietnam veterans out there listening to your program and former military. But I wanted to ask a question about the Maryland man, and that's, whatever happened to those knuckle tattoo photographs? Did that just vanish from the conversation? There were accusations that was faked. Do you know anything about that?
Well, look, I don't know whether the superimposed numbers were fake, but that the numbers might have been put there to explain what the tattoos meant. But look, he's got the tattoos. Like I said, when they brought him to court, I mean, you know, he was a born-again Abrego Garcia on the outside, you know, his clean-cut look and, you know, shaven and you know, wearing I don't think he wore a tie, but I think he, you know, had a collar and a jacket. And, oh, my goodness, this guy, he looked like, you know, your next-door neighbor who goes out to work every day and is law-abiding. And the attempt to paint this man as if he's an American citizen who is being mistreated. The man is here illegally. He doesn't belong here. He's got a long record. He was caught in the act of human trafficking. I mean, what more do we need to know? I mean, please. Thank you so much for the call, Tom. And God bless you, brother. And look, I have a special place in my heart. I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. I did not see combat. But I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. I served during the Vietnam period. And I'll tell you, I have a special place in my heart for Vietnam combat veterans, especially because of the way they were treated when they came home, and the lack of respect for the sacrifice they made, and the notion that somehow they were doing something wrong. They were fighting the most evil ideology of the modern world, and that is communism. And I think we could have won that war and we could have freed Vietnam, but the politicians simply wouldn't let us do it. They didn't have the stomach to let us do it, maybe in part because the government was infiltrated by a bunch of communists who didn't want us to defeat communism. But that's another matter. Let's come back to the lines. Let's go to Marty in Iowa. Marty, welcome.
Brother Jackson, God bless you. It's great to hear you. And, you know, you've been talking about driving truck, and I just wanted to say that I've been running tractor trailers since 1986 is when I started. And I've had the credentials, the haul, whatever you can put on the road, and hazmat product, everything. And it was amazing during the Obama administration. Suddenly, as an American who's never left America, I've always only been on our interstate system. Suddenly we had to start being fingerprinted, and you got such a sense that, now wait a minute, I'm not the criminal around here, and I'd been driving for over 30 years, and then these new standards came into being, and I'm not opposed to new standards, but I run the I-29 corridor quite a bit. It comes from Mexico up to Canada, and we see a lot of drivers that would not be Americans. I don't know quite how to say it. They're loved by God.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
They don't have the credentials, and yet the Americans are the ones who are really being criticized on our driving and everything, and it's like I don't have any offense on the road ever, and yet I'm being fingerprinted as though I'm some sort of a someone that needs
Marty,
to be watched.
I'm out of time, Marty. Thank you for the call. Look, I said yesterday, I mean, we all experience it. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you, Rich. Please listen tomorrow and see if we can get you in. I said yesterday, I'm amazed at the number of people I come across who are serving the public who can't even speak English, or it's so broken that you can't understand them. So I know exactly what Marty's getting at. I mean, let's just face reality. That's not racist. That's not xenophobic. That's just the reality of what we are facing, because there are people who seem to be interested in replacing us. This is Bishop E.W. Jackson in for Jenna Ellis. Stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.